The way that your brain works is God. The fact that you can be working on a task that God called you to and you can already see the completion of that task and you are at the beach in your mind is God. The dangerous part of your mind operating this way is that you can get so caught up in the thoughts of you being on that beach that you lose sight of the task at hand and you don't complete it because you're already in the promise before the promise has came to pass. You're already in the promise before you have completed the work. So you have to be vigilant enough to say, I see what the end result of this will be because I have faith it will be that. And I know this is going to work because God would not have called me to this if it was not going to be successful. I see that and I know that and I'm highly aware of that. But I have to keep myself focused and in tune with the work that has to be completed for me to get to the end of the vision that I see in my mind. Does that mean that God won't exceed my expectations? It doesn't mean that. He will exceed my expectations. It might not be exactly what I see in my mind. It's always going to be more. The details of it won't be what I've expected because I'm already at the beach. I don't see the turmoil, the adversity that I must face in order to get to that beach. I just see that I'm working on this task and I'm getting to the beach. That's all I see. That I'm working on this task, I'm getting to the beach, I'm impacting people along the way. You have to keep your mind fixated and focused on the fact that faith without works is dead. So you must complete the work in order to get to that place within your vision. This is why God constantly keeps us focused on the process of becoming and not the tangible evidence of you becoming. Phone ran out of storage. I need to release a lot. I've been working on that, so bear with me. I'm just going to complete this YouTube style because it's for my YouTube anyways, and I really want you guys to support my YouTube and migrate over here. Okay, so this just works out perfectly for me. The process has to be your main focus because the tangible will always show up. God guarantees that. When you work for God, he says he'll provide for you for the rest of your life. God says, I provide for the birds. They don't focus on what they're going to eat. They don't focus on where they're going to lay their head. I provide that freely. God is going to provide for you freely just based upon you doing what he has called you to do, just based upon you completing that task. So he wants you to focus on becoming, in the process of becoming, more so than the tangible evidence. A lot of us get caught up in, well, when is the house coming? When is the car coming? Where am I going to live? What state do you want me to move to? We focus on the end result more so than we focus on what needs to be done to get there. And so we get so caught up on Zillow, looking at houses, looking at the car, visiting the car lots. And I'm not saying that's not important, but we get so caught up in that we miss the purpose and the point of becoming and standing in that process and completing those tasks, constantly crying out to God. And I've been guilty of this. Everything that you have experienced, please believe I have experienced or will experience. It may not be in the same way, but we can relate on an emotional standpoint and as far as the foundation of how we felt or what our expectations were. We might not have come from the same walk of life as far as our background goes, but we can all relate emotionally. We can all relate within this experience. We can all relate when we open our mouth and share our story. Your experience is not singular. It is shared. I kept crying out to God, like, God, I need money. God, I need this. Maybe I need a job. I'm applying for jobs. I'm getting denied for the job. As soon as I sent in the application, I'm like, wait, what? They didn't even have time to review the application. How did I already get denied? I'm talking about supernatural denials were taking place. And I'm like, God, you know what it is I need and what I'm facing. What is the problem? The problem is you are the job. The problem is the task that God has given you needs to be completed. And if he allows you to get a job, if he allows anything else to take up even more space, if he allows anything else, you're going to keep pushing off that task more than you're already pushing it off because you already have so much on your plate. What do you think adding something else is going to do? Take up more space. God wants you to consolidate the space and time that you already have. Because there's things that can be minimized. There's things that you can let go of. And that's what he's calling you to. Most of the time throughout my process, God was like, ma'am, you didn't even complete that. When you complete that, you'll make an income. When you complete that, you'll see a change. When you complete that, you'll get what it is that you need to go where it is that I'm calling you. I'm revealing where I want you to go. I'm revealing that it's time for this to happen in your life. I'm revealing certain things so that you will be aware of what season you in, not so that you can go into a state of panic to try to figure it out yourself. You still haven't even worked on the last thing I told you to work on. And there's no need to over spiritualize it to say, God, send me confirmation and clarity as far as what I need to do. You already know you're not eating right. Every time you eat, you tired. And then you make an excuse that you need to go to bed, your stomach hurt, and you can't work on what you need to work on. You don't have to pray to me about that. You see what it is that needs to change and what I'm calling you to. How can you collaborate with becoming so that you can stand in what you're asking me for and you can handle it and not squander it and go back to your old ways? A lot has to break off you for you to even grasp what it is that God is giving you, for you to even grasp what you're asking for. You don't have to over spiritualize it. You know you're not supposed to be having 2, 3, 4 hour phone conversations that are meaningless and about nothing. You know when it's time to get off the phone. You know when God is moving and speaking through you and it's a great conversation, and you know when it's got to a point where God said what he said. Y'all gonna start talking so much so to where you forgot what God said and you just walk away knowing that it was a great conversation. Where 2 more people meet, God will surely be. So as I'm speaking and sharing certain things that I have experienced and also letting the Holy Spirit use me, I know he's speaking to you just like he's speaking to me. That's why it's important for us to have these conversations, for us to get together and connect. And we cannot continue to deny community because of perfectionism or rejection or fear based upon past experiences. We need to connect and share. And that's why God keeps placing it on your spirit to share. And you're like, I don't know, it's embarrassing. It's not embarrassing. When you start to look at things from the aspect of your experience, it's not singular. It is very much shared, although people put on a good face and they're not sharing what they're experiencing. They're suffering in silence for the sake of survival and pride. And also because of past experiences that have caused them to be fearful of trusting others. You opening your mouth will show them that they can trust again, that they are not alone. God's not calling you to speak to embarrass you. If he called you to it, he's going to see you through it. He says in Joshua 1:9, have I not commanded you? Fear not, for I am with you. There's no need to fear man or what they're going to say about you because I've sent you. That's what God is saying. And you have to take up your space. There was a time, and I still sometimes struggle with it, and I have to remind myself that God has called me to speak out loud, to be in a space where where people can walk in and see me talking to my camera and nobody's here. It can be, it can be scary. But you have to take up your space. And the only way that you can get out of fear and take up your space is by starting. Implementing new practices, challenging yourself. You can't just plan it all in your mind. You have to step out and say, okay, today I'm going to go to this cafe and I'm going to take pictures. Today I'm going to go here and I'm going to record. Okay, you know what? Today I'm not going to hide what I'm saying in front of my family for the sake of rejection, because when I was a child, they rejected me, although they're not rejecting me now. Everybody's situation is different. So don't just start blabbering and letting your left hand know what your right hand's doing if you're not supposed to be opening your mouth around people. That's just an example, because a lot of the times we can get caught in trauma to where we expect for a certain family member or a dynamic to operate in a set way because that's how it used to operate, and it's no longer operating in that aspect. And so because we're still operating from a place of trauma, we think that it is, so we already deem that it cannot help us or that it's not there for us, so we feel we have to hide ourselves or contain ourselves or suppress ourselves, when God said we are a light set on a hill, not supposed to be hidden in a drawer. Why would you put a light in a drawer? It's going to burn the whole drawer down, because it's not supposed to be in there. It's not supposed to be hidden. It's supposed to be seen. So use your discernment, of course, as far as what relationship it is that you feel you have to suppress yourself around, and pray on it, analyze, especially your emotions and how it's operating currently. Put it to the test, okay, so that you'll know how to move. Trauma can be difficult to navigate, especially when you're trying to do it without the right tools. You have to shift the way you cope, shift the way that you analyze. You have to shift your mental processing system and not suppress yourself or oppress yourself because you're afraid of rejection. Seek God, okay? Sit down and analyze your emotions. Pay attention to what's going on and how people move. And you'll know. Use your discernment. And also know that every relationship is not for everything. There is one person that you can go to for advice. There's another person that you may not be able to go to for advice when it pertains to relationships, but you can go to them for business advice. They're not the relationship advice person for you. They are the business advice person for you, because relationally they don't have it together romantically in that area. You have to literally dissect and pay attention and pray and ask God for discernment to know who is who and what they are for in your life. Refrain from placing an unrealistic expectation on them. They can't be that for you because they don't have that in them. But they can be this, or maybe they're not supposed to be anything at all because it's no longer that season, or you're no longer that person. So you guys no longer can be iron sharpening iron. It can only be rubber and iron, which is only going to make you dull, or vice versa, because you could be the issue also. This life, you have to have discernment and pay attention and analyze and get out of pride and out of your feelings, out of shame, to where you run from holding yourself accountable because you feel bad. We're not perfect. We're imperfect beings. We're spirits having a human experience. We are imperfect, and that is okay. Being imperfect is powerful. If we had it all together, what would be the purpose and the point of life? Who would need God? Who would need direction? Who would need insight? It would be a very selfish place because everybody would feel they got it, which is showing up now in pride, where people are like, no, you still need somebody, and that's okay. God created us to be within partnership, even with Him. So you don't have to go through life thinking that you can live without it, or feeling bad because you need it. Anyways, write the vision and make it plain. See yourself and imagine yourself in a place that you desire to be. Take it before God, declare it and decree it over your life, but do not just stay in the end result. Remain present within the process of becoming and preparing for that end result, and know that it does not just end there. God will exceed your expectations, and after you accomplish that goal and you're standing in the promise, you're standing in the vision, there will be more to believe for. God is a God of abundance and prosperity, overflow, in infinite amounts. Eternity is how He speaks. Things that you can leave behind for your children's children's children, and people you don't even know. And it's not just about monetary, but about wisdom and impact that you will leave behind. So do not limit yourself in this life. Refrain from limiting yourself in this life. Know that you can have it all. And that does not mean from a selfish aspect, or you're trying to conquer everything just to do it. You have a purpose behind it. You're fully committed and surrendered before the Most High God. There's a purpose in all that you do because you're committed to Him. The tangibles will come, but you must embrace the process first. So stay focused on what is required to master the process, to master becoming, and to know that you will always be in a state of evolving. You'll always be in a state of becoming. Always. And just because God will bring you to a space to where it feels as if you're starting over, it does not mean you're starting from scratch. It just means you're starting from a new level, which means you have to learn new things, which means you have to apply the things that you learned from the last level so that you can grow and evolve. It does not mean you're rock bottom, starting all the way over, all the way from scratch. It doesn't mean that. You still have the wisdom, even if you lost the house. Okay? It's dangerous to solely focus on the tangibles, because if you solely focus on the tangibles, you will lose sight of what you have gained. You lose sight of your spiritual growth. You lose sight of your emotional growth. You lose sight of your physical growth. You lose sight of your mental growth. You lose sight of the wisdom that you have gained because you're only focused on the fact that the house left or the marriage didn't work out or whatever the case may be. It's not solely about the tangible things that you can see. It's about the supernatural things that you know and you hold inside of you. That is the key. And I'm going to leave it at that. Okay?